Hello, everyone. We are live.
You said
I
it this
beat you.
time.
I beat you.
You did.
Yes. Welcome to Force the Light Entertainment. I am your host, Michelle the Magnificent.
And I'm Natalie the Red.
Yes. And we're Force the Light Entertainment, as I just said. Well, for those of you that are listening via podcast on a later date, this is another live episode, so there will be interaction with the chat, just so you know what we're doing. If maybe we pause or begin to read something, you know you know the drill at this point. We've uploaded quite a few of these. But yeah, we wanted to start, so we have our first watch series, and now we also want to start a second series that we kind of mix in the mix, and that is movies that we love. And so tonight we're going to be talking about a movie that we love, and that movie is The Princess Bride. So join the conversation.
Inconceivable.
Yeah, join the conversation, and let's talk The Princess Bride. And hello to everyone that is in the chat. Hello to all of you awesome people. Seeing a lot of familiar faces here in the chat tonight. It is nice to see you all.
Always.
Yes, always nice to see everyone in the chat. Awesome. Well, let me undo that. Awesome. Yeah. Hello to every one of you, and hello, Rick. I just saw you too. Yes, thank you for joining. And we want to hear what you guys think, because hello to Marcos. I see you in the chat now. But yeah, we'll go ahead and kind of get in this movie, and in the chat, feel free to just join in this. As we've always said, join the conversation. Say what you want to say. So this movie, I mean, Natalie.
In the words of John Mayer, say what you need to say.
Gosh. So this movie, it was one of those movies that we grew up with.
We did.
I mean, I don't know what the count is, the viewership count of this movie is. I mean, it feels like we watch this movie all the time.
A lot.
Like, we had the VHS and eventually like the DVD too, and I now have a Blu-ray. I mean, we have followed this thing in every form that you can watch this movie. I mean, this movie is just a fantastic movie. It came out in 1987.
Once again, go ahead and say it, Shell.
The year Natalie was born.
So funnily enough, is that a word, funnily?
Well, so this was a great year. You had Predator.
I was going to say, last week, yes. 1987 as well.
Yeah, so you had Predator and The Princess Bride. And just a little information, The Princess Bride, I was just looking this up. The budget for it was $16 million, and it made almost $31 million. $30.9 million is what it made. So it doubled its budget. But where this movie truly became iconic and popular is it's one of those movies that caught on in the aftermarket with VHS sales and eventually DVD sales, and just became a cult classic, and now is one of the most beloved movies that there really is. I mean, this movie is it's fantastic.
I feel like everybody's seen The Princess Bride.
Yes.
I'm sure there are some that have not.
Yeah, and
because we haven't seen some things that everybody apparently has seen.
Well, but here's the thing about this. Some of the movies we've not seen are a little more masculine.
That's true.
And we're two females. I mean, here's the thing about this movie. This movie, The Princess Bride, it sounds so girly, so romantic, and yet it's hard to find men who don't like this movie.
It's true.
I mean, this movie it's for everyone. So, I mean, Natalie, anything you want to say before we get started on this movie? We can just kind of walk through.
I will say, it's like, I told Michelle, it's kind of funny when you watch it as a kid, you think it's like this genuine, like, romance, like serious romance, adventure, action. And then you watch it when you're a little bit older and you're like, oh, this is a comedy. You know, like it's a comedy too.
I know, yeah.
So it's definitely, kind of your perspective changes on the movie.
When I was growing up, I thought this movie was I thought this was just like such a serious romance. Yeah. And I was just so like in awe of Wesley and Buttercup's love.
Like,
and it was so, yeah.
They're such a beautiful couple, and that's true love that they have.
Yes. I mean, it's just,
after falling in love in like 5 days, like with the As You Wish. And
well, we don't know how long it was.
Maybe it was a year.
In fairness, we
a year of him saying "As You Wish," and they were very much in love.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how long but they really love each other. But anyways, it was as I got older that you realize and I wasn't that much older. I mean, again, we've had this movie since we were like really, really little. But then you begin to realize, wow, this is a comedy. And then it just makes you laugh more and more. And as I was watching it last night, it just hit me why this movie is so genius. And the reason this movie is so genius is because it plays that's why we thought it was serious as a little girl, because they acted out very seriously.
Right.
But yet that's part of the humor, is the fact that it's supposed to be like serious, but it's not serious. It's actually comedy, and that's part of the comedy
at all. Yeah.
I mean, it's hysterical. Let me get to these.
It's like a take on a period piece.
It is. And thank you, Brad, for the $20 super sticker. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thank you, Yader. Hey.
Hey.
My pitch to people who haven't seen it: if you can get past the first 5 minutes, you'll love it. Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah, because the first 5 minutes is. But anyways, I was watching. Thank you so much for that. When I was watching it, I actually watched it again today. I've watched this movie twice in the last 24 hours. And that's another thing. This movie, let's see, the runtime it's a pretty short runtime, actually. The runtime, let me see if I can find this. I think it's like right at the hour and 40-minute mark. I'm not seeing it this second, but it's right around an hour and 40 minutes. So you can just watch this movie so easily. Yes, Dan, I've watched it twice. You can watch this movie so easily because it flows. And that's the thing. There's no boring parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps going, and it's just, the comedy is just so good, and there's new things that make you laugh. Like this past time I've watched it, something that cracked me up in the beginning. Again, they're playing this very seriously, and that's a part of the comedy.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that they fall in love by her demeaning him, constantly calling him farm boy. And the moment she realizes,
that's how I pick up men, do you not?
the moment she realizes she loves him, she's like, grab farm boy. Fetch me that. And that's like, they just look at each other, and it's like they're in love. And it's just like, it cracked me up. It was
like, and when she knew she was in love with him too. And I'm like, because he says as you wish.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yes.
But I mean, that is a good man too, to always do as she wishes. So take notes. Might be the way.
Natalie's like, this is the way.
This is the way.
But yeah, so then we are, you're introduced to, what are you looking at over there? I'm trying to find the cast
some
here.
Of the chats.
I hate the way that, let me see. I hate the way, Natalie, you take over for a minute. I'm talking.
So another part that made me laugh, I'm just chatting. We're just hanging out with you guys. On the boat when Andre the Giant, and they're like, I'd never noticed that made me laugh before, that they start doing this like rhyming with each other. And the guy, will you guys leave the name in the chat of the guy's name that always like, you killed my father, prepare to die. You know what?
Well, I don't think we have, Natalie, it's Ingo Montoya.
Ingo. Hello, my name is Ingo.
Or I don't know how to pronounce it. That's always the problem here, is I can't pronounce his name. But anyways, you get introduced.
But anyway, they're like rhyming back and forth, and then the little inconceivable guy, he's just like, enough! You know, he's kind of like Michelle reacts to things.
I actually did relate to how quickly he gets aggravated.
His nerves got shot.
But Wesley has to go off. We all know the story, so I don't have to tell you the story.
Oh, another thing that I caught that's funny, that's kind of like a funny thing. So the inconceivable guy, who does a great job, by the way, being dramatic. Oh, and yay, dear, hey, thank you for the super chat. There's something in this movie for everyone. It's what makes the movie great. Absolutely, definitely. But you know, what's kind of funny about him is he prides himself on being smart.
Oh, so smart.
Like he's so cunning and intelligent, and you know, he uses, like, he doesn't have the brawn, but he has the brains. And it's like, you know, he's putting down the guys and everything. And then you find out it's like he's really not that smart at all, is the funny thing.
Well, and you know, he has that line. He's like, have you ever heard of, what is it? Socrates, Aristotle, Plato? Morons. You know,
right, like he's just like so big on himself.
But you meet this group, Inigo.
Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, he's trying to help us pronounce it. I've never known how to pronounce it right.
Inigo Montoya. Am I saying it right?
I feel like we're still botching it, but thank you so much. But you meet this group. So of course you've got the guy who's the brains, you got Montoya who's the sword, and then you've got Andre the Giant, who's the
giant.
Yeah, the giant. He's the giant. So of course they take Buttercup, and that whole boat scene is great. Oh, and we've got to back up because this story begins with little young Fred Savage sick in his bed in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And his grandfather comes to read him a story, and he's so, I don't want to read a story. But his grandfather convinces him that there's stuff in there that he's going to enjoy. So he's like, okay. And it just kind of reminds you, I was thinking today, okay, not if I was like super sick, but I was actually thinking today back kind of fondly of like days you're kind of just a little bit sick,
a little sick,
and got to stay home from school,
and it was like awesome.
And you just got to watch movies like The Princess Bride and watch whatever you wanted and sleep and eat popsicles.
And Mom would bring you like cut up fruit or popsicles.
Yeah, I mean it was
like all day.
It's like it was a good time.
It was good times, man.
But. And we got Charles, the one who gave us the hoot system, is in the house.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, so you have them. And the way they've cut this movie, bouncing back between the grandfather and Fred Savage, telling the story and listening to the story, and then the way they do that so perfectly fits with the story.
Oh, that's what made me tear up at the end. It's like when his grandfather. Okay, I just admitted that
you were having an emotional day.
That's embarrassing, but it's like sometimes I'm just so in my feelings. Like when he wanted his grandfather, like, will you come back tomorrow and read it again? And I don't know why it just struck me as precious.
It's sweet times, but yeah, you've got
good
that.
Times with Gramps.
Yes, you've got that, and then of course they see that Montoya sees that someone is following them, and then it just cracks you up. Even the scene where they're climbing up that thing, because it would take so long. Probably no mortal person could climb.
Oh, and they're just like
just so fast.
I was thinking they've clearly got something on them that's like letting them like almost like glide, like float up, like with such ease, and then it's like, it made me laugh. It's a kissing book. Yeah. Is this a kissing book? And it's fun. It's sweet too, because he was so like not into it. Like this is like romantic. This is not gonna be my kind of thing. And he loved it by the end.
Yeah.
He was so invested. But gosh, what were we talking about?
Well, you're talking about them going up the thing.
Oh yeah. Just like how fast they go. It's like it is ridiculous. Well, but that's it. Like, what I was gonna say.
And then he's like, "You promised me you were the giant, and yet he gains, and yet he gains." Right. Like, that was so funny. He's like, what does he say? He's like, I'll fire you, or he doesn't say I'll fire you, but that's what he means.
He's like, I'll have to find me another giant.
I'll have to find me another giant. He says, oh, don't say that, as if it's so easy to find another giant.
Right, like he genuinely kind of like thinks this. But he's got like 3 other people, and he's just like going at this record pace, and he's like, come on, it's just like, I think he's going pretty fast. Well,
and then what's so hysterical is when Montoya cuts the rope. So he first, starts having a chat with Wesley, and he's like,
and that interaction is funny.
Yeah, because he's like, can I throw you the rope? He's like, but I've got to be, he doesn't use this word. I got to be honest, or that's my wording that I like to use. I got to be transparent here. I'm only waiting around to kill you. And he's like, well, that puts a damper on our relationship.
Right.
But anyways, what makes me laugh is so he's like, is there anything I can do that you'll trust me to give you this rope? No. And then he's like, I swear to you on the life of my father. And then Wesley just throw me the rope. Just as like he could just they convey it.
He's like, oh, that's legit. He means that. I felt that. Did we miss a super chat?
Did we?
I don't know. Go up.
I don't think we did.
Oh.
No, because we didn't miss one.
Good
I don't think we did. So then they discuss, and then they're like, okay, now we have to fight. And
while being very respectful of each other.
Yes. And it's like this fight scene. I believe I heard someone say that this is one of the longest like sword fights in any movie. But
and once again, they're like clearly have things making them be able to like jump and do these ridiculous things.
Well, and like it's just so the fact that someone in a life or death situation is like, he's like, why are you smiling? Because I am not left-handed.
And then it got me. I had not remembered. Then he like turns around and he's like, because I am not left.
Yeah.
It's like they both have this trick where they're in a life or death situation. Like, I'm just going to play it cool and use my non-dominant hand.
Yeah, because I am not left-handed. I'm not left-handed either. And then what really gets me is this is, again, things like this is when you know you're just in a comedy, is when Montoya, he like flips over the thing to get a sword because Wesley's knocked it out. So then Wesley flips his sword, it perfectly lands. And then when he jumps on the thing, he does a full double
He's
flip.
like, I'm going to take my time on this and do a couple.
You're like, it's a 10. Like that's the kind of jump he does. So the whole sword fight's hysterical. And of course, then he's off. He's beat the brass. So now he's got to go deal with the giant. And of course, he takes out good old Andre. And even their conversation is humorous.
It is, yeah.
And
Andre is just like a big softie.
He is. And then you get him with the genius in the battle of wits. And that scene
is quite the battle.
That scene is just so great. And the fact that it ends with, look, over there. He switches.
And what does he say? Like, never something with the Sicilian when death is on the line.
He's like, there are two expressions in the world. And one of them, I can't remember what it is. He's like, the other one is, never mess with the Sicilian when death is on the line. but then you get so many just awesome lines in this movie, and one of them being inconceivable.
Inconceivable. There might not be a lisp. I don't know. I think there's a little lisp.
There's a little bit of a lisp.
It's like I can't go half lisp. Like I either don't have one or I go full lisp. Nobody goes full lisp.
No,
but me apparently in these.
Well, and then of course he's off with so then too you get a cutback. So now we see that within this movie we have a chase because you have Wesley chasing them with Buttercup.
Yeah.
And then you have Prince Humperdinck, who's now tracing Wesley, and who's tracing them.
The fact that his last name is Humperdinck.
The names, Prince Humperdinck and Princess Buttercup. I mean, come on.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something.
Most quotable movie ever. Absolutely. There's just like so many. Like even if you haven't watched in a while, you're like, oh, there's that one and that one and that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many fantastic ones. And then
you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think.
That's one of his most famous. In fact,
I don't think it means what you think it means.
In fact, I was saying, and shout out to Talking Back Pod. They have an excellent podcast, but I was re-listening to theirs. Because they pointed this out. I was like, that's a pretty good point. They were talking about how Montoya, he has like the most memorable lines because he's got that one. I don't think that means what you think it means. And then he also has, my name is, however you say his first name, Montoya. You killed my father,
Montoya.
Prepared to die. Quit saying that. But he does have just so many.
Why do you keep saying that?
He just has so many memorable lines. And then, of course, I say, of course, as if you know, one of my favorites.
It's your brain, Michelle.
You're just living in it, guys. Apparently,
we can't be in it unless you tell us.
One of my favorite scenes that has always cracked me up is when Buttercup's like, and you can die too for all I care. And she just pushes him and as you wish. Yeah. And her immediate response is to just throw herself down the
I mean, as one does, naturally.
And you just hear the as they keep hitting things and roll all the way down. And then you get the kissing. And then, and it goes back to them. Let's see. Super chat.
Hey.
Hater. So you got to sing it? I mean, sing it.
I'll sing it, Michelle.
Are you going to
just wait?
Read it?
You fell for one of the most classic blunders, the most famous of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia. Only slightly less well known. Never got involved with the Sicilian, or never get involved with the Sicilian. When
oh my gosh. Like you knew the full line, man.
You did. That was impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Most impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive. We really, really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much too.
So then they move in to the fire swamp. And that's where this movie, it has everything that you could want. It has romance, it's a comedy, it has adventure. Because as a kid,
it has horror.
As a kid,
with the large rats.
I was genuinely I was genuinely fearful. Like, you feel suspense when they go into the fire swamp.
And what's funny, like watching it as an adult, it's like if you're playing that for a child, or like say when we were kids growing up, it's almost like the stuff that they encounter, as ridiculous as it seems as an adult, it's like the scariest thing you could think of.
Yeah.
Like falling in quicksand and then enormous rats. You know, like,
what does she say? She's like,
in this enchanted evil forest.
She's like, do you think ROUSs are no? What is the acronym?
And then he's like, oh,
rodents of unusual size.
Just like the quickness comically. He's like, oh, you mean the rodents of unusual size? No, I don't think so. And then boom, right on him.
Man, that big rat used to scare me to death as a little girl. I was like, no, like I hated that moment.
And then how dramatic the knifing is. And then and then it's like breathing out.
And the music is actually good. And I shout out again to Talking Back Pod. They are telling me the person who composed this music was in an alternative rock band. So it was like a very random selection that they got to do the music.
The music is so good.
But it is.
It's such a famous, like their little love music is so good.
But something that made me laugh too is
ROUS. Rodents of unusual size.
Is anytime, like, say, like he stabs, or there's a moment, like it will be like dun, dun, like the music. You know what I'm saying? The music does it with the motions, and it really,
it's like cheesy in the best way possible works. Because it's supposed to be cheesy.
Yes, that's part of the comedy. Like it's supposed to make you laugh.
And thank you very much, Rick. Classic blunder one is serious, as it is General Douglas MacArthur's quote, "You can't win
a land war in Asia."
JFK actually consulted with him prior to U.S. entry into Vietnam, and Jen MacArthur said, "Stay out of it." Very interesting history.
Rick, thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you very much,
Rick giving us the history lessons on that comment. Yes. I appreciate it.
We do appreciate it.
Yeah. So they're able to get through the fire swamp, and of course you find out that he was the Dread Pirate Roberts. He had become that. And as they get out, and he's all bloodied, here comes Prince Humperdinck. And Wesley sees that it's the six-hand man that Montoya was looking for, that they had in their conversation. And
and that dude does a good job of like being just creepy enough.
He does. He really does. And of course, she thinks she saved Wesley, but Wesley knows, nah, you didn't save me. So then what do? They take him and they throw him. And this is just so classic again in this movie. They put him in the pit of despair. It's literally called the pit of despair.
We've all been there. Don't act like you.
I mean, I use that all the time in reference, and you think of this movie, The Pit of Despair. I mean, it's just
like, Michelle, where are you right now? She's like, currently I'm in the pit of despair.
It's not a good place to be. I hope you're not in the pit of despair on this evening. So they go there, and I think that's where you get the dream, where you get the bow down to her, the princess of slime,
the queen of
refuge of filth. And then we find that little Fred Savage is really into it because he's like, really distraught.
Wait a minute. She doesn't marry Prince Humperdinck. She's going to marry Wesley.
Oh, and first too, let's say one of the great quotes in that scene where it's the dream sequence is Humperdinck says, "My father's last words were, 'Love her as I have loved her.'"
And I'm like, what does that mean?
You're like, love her the way your father loved your wife? What?
Yeah. Very confused.
But it's just so funny the way it's delivered and everything.
It's not that serious.
No, it's meant to be funny, obviously. Yeah. And so what are you reading something?
Make sure to hit that like button in the pit of despair.
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, thank you, Nicole.
Humperdinck.
So then, like, every character in this movie does their job, because even the little dude who goes down to Wesley in the pit of despair, and he's like, "Where am I?" "You're in the pit." You're in the pit of despair.
Right, like you think he's gonna be this creepy, and then totally clear.
Like, even that guy does his role so well and adds humor in it. And of course, they have this machine that can rob him of his life.
Once again, as a kid, that's like the most dramatic thing ever. Like this takes your life away. Years at a time.
Kind of like being on lockdown for a year. Just saying. But
It's-
moving on.
it's true.
But anyways,
You should rewatch it. It's really funny.
yeah, The Princess Bride, it's a classic. It's fantastic.
The albino, are you talking about me?
Yeah, no, he's talking about that character, the albino.
Gotcha.
So then
he was. I guess I never thought about that. I just thought he had white hair and skin like mine.
no, he's an albino. That's what
Oh.
he's supposed to be, and that's why it's
Gotcha.
funny that they just kind of painted him with like chalk,
like powder.
yeah, it's not serious, but it is. But he's supposed to be that. So then another line that cracked me up when I was watching it recently or today is when Buttercup is like pouting through the hallways of the castle,
Yeah.
and Humperdinck, because he can't admit why, he's like, she's been like that ever since my father got sick or something like that.
Like
And-
nothing to do with that she reconnected with the love of her life.
And the six-fingered man is like, I'm sure you're right, sir. Like he knows that's not why she's upset.
And just even, I think it's him, their interactions, like when he wants to come closer, like to the king's like desk area or whatever, and he's like, and then he comes and sits, and then they like rearrange their arms. It's just a little quirkiness like that works so well.
Well, because the humor in this is definitely quirky. Like this
Right.
is quirky humor fully.
Michelle and I can appreciate some.
Oh,
quirky
we
humor.
love quirky humor if it's done right. I mean, we're getting there. Marriage.
Love, true love.
True love. So then they, of course, we
Oh, wait a minute. He actually officiated a wedding, starting it out that way. That is awesome. That's epic.
that's wedding goals, guys.
That it really is.
That's pretty awesome. So then of course, when she says that she'll never love another man but Wesley, he goes and he turns it up to a 50, not a 50.
yeah, like nobody's ever had that before. It's very serious.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they have everybody can hear him, like it's
Scream.
that loud. Like Buttercup turns around in her chair, like what's
Like basically Snyder cut with the way they had Henry Cavill Superman let out the scream that was heard around the galaxy. They copied The Princess Bride. I mean, it happened. They copied the scream of Wesley, where it just goes around and everybody hears the scream.
absolutely.
But of course, then Montoya is like, I know that scream. It is the scream that I did when my father died. It is the scream of excruciating pain.
I think he said like of true anguish.
Of true anguish. He's like, I made it then. The man in black makes it today. So they go off to find, and it's the whole montage where Andre the Giant brings him back from being drunk is pretty hysterical.
Because I was telling her, like watching it as a kid, like I thought he was like sick or something, and he was like, it was like taking time, and he was being nursed back to health slowly. And then watching it as an adult, I'm like, no, he was just like drunk, and he's like sobering him up within the next like 20 minutes or so. Get some soup, and then
and he's like, all right, I'm awake. Another part, and I just keep saying things that make me laugh because this movie's hysterical. Another part that makes me laugh is when they follow the scream to the forest, and of course it's hidden where Wesley is. And he's like, he basically like prays to the sword or to his father's spirit to guide his sword, and it's so serious the way it's done. And he moves slowly this way
like
and
he's
that way.
truly being drug around.
Yeah, he's being drug around, and then just finally, and then it opens. I mean, it's all pretty funny. And then they get Wesley, and then they go off to Billy Crystal to what's this? It's not Mad Max, but
Get back, witch.
Yeah, get back, witch. And she's funny. She's awesome in the role.
Yeah.
Like the two of them are pretty hysterical. And he's like, he's not dead. Is he half dead?
Oh yeah. He's only mostly dead.
Mostly dead. I always say half dead for some reason. He's only mostly dead. And of course they give him that chocolate covered pill that's so big.
It was rather large. What is in that thing?
And I like when they're like, goodbye, have fun storming the castle. Do you think they'll make it? Probably not. Goodbye. And of course, they have this plan because they need Wesley for his brains. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. See, I mean, even you guys in the chat, you guys can quote the story because it's that quotable.
It's true.
I mean, it's just quotable. So of course, Wesley, they put the pill in his mouth, and immediately he's up. He's awake because
That's all it takes.
he was only partially dead.
Mostly dead.
Yeah, mostly. I always botch
There's
that.
mostly dead, and then there's dead. Yeah.
Liar! Yes, Magic Max. Yes, thank you.
For some reason, I read Magic Mike. Whenever I saw that comment, I was
what's Natalie been watching lately?
I've never seen it. I promise.
Sure.
Never seen it.
Haven't. So of course they plot and they do this plan where Andre the Giant is like up as this big thing and he scares all of them. So they're able to get in the castle and Wesley can't. Oh, I love when he's like, see there before that. He's like, see there. He's like, you moved your finger. He's like, great.
Oh yeah. And how ridiculously easy it was to outsmart Humperdinck, like while he's incapacitated and can't really even like function.
Well, because
he
Wesley,
outsmarts him, and
because
as soon as
Wesley's
he
the
gets
boss.
tied up, and he's like, then he proves that he really couldn't do anything. He's like, I knew that was.
He's like, I knew it.
It's like, then why did you fall for it, Humperdinck?
Because one of my favorite lines, Natalie should know this, is actually the beginning when, or more in the middle, when Humperdinck is like, if I'm wrong, and I'm never wrong. So of course they had the marriage where she doesn't say I do, but we get the showdown that we've all been waiting on.
I mean, it's been building up to this.
Because Montoya finally comes face to face with the six-fingered man. And he's able to say, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And then just the rate at which he continues to say it.
Well, first, this thing that he's waited for. And the guy.
He gets like stabbed in the stomach.
No. You keep pushing. But before that, when he says it, the guy just takes off and run like a little, like a sissy.
I knew what you were about to say.
Yeah, like a sissy.
Yeah, like a sissy.
And what did you think I was going to say? I was literally going to say like a sissy.
I thought you were going to say like a little witch, but with a B.
No, I wasn't. I said what I meant to say in this case.
Cracking myself up over here.
But anyway, so then you get what you're getting at of when he runs down, he throws the knife and he's like, my gosh. He's like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. And you do, as the viewer, you feel for him because he's trained for this so long and he just blows it.
Yeah.
I mean, one throw of the knife and it's like he's cooked. You think he is.
We've all been there too.
But then
just blow it.
He begins to get the will to fight again. And that's where you just get the continual. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
That's like,
you killed my father.
It's like
prepare to die.
His quest for revenge is keeping him alive.
It's fueling
literally
him at this point.
It's keeping him going.
And he's like, quit saying that.
Stop saying that. And, another, I would not say such things if I were you.
Yes, we forgot that. I would not say such things if I were you. You gotta love Humperdinck. And of course, he's able to revenge his father and kill the six-fingered man. So then, of course, he rushes off.
Like, and he was gonna like show mercy for a second. I thought not.
No, he wasn't gonna show mercy.
But it was like, no, he's gonna go there. He was gonna finish what he started.
He was like toying with him, like offer me all the things in the world, because the point he was trying to make is none of that can give me back what I really want. So it was a good moment. I enjoyed that moment. It was lovely. What is the chat saying? You're gonna read?
That's
You're
cute.
just gonna.
Oh yeah,
For
I forgot
those
from the
listening.
podcast. I'm Stephen Yarnell says I'm Sicilian, so that quote is dear to me. I bet it is.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome, Stephen.
Do you know I actually watched my cousin Vinny a long time ago on one of those sick days, like we talked about earlier. Not as a kid, more as an adult. But I'd love to watch it again. It seemed really funny. But it's been probably 10 years or so.
Do you know seen it the one that time. Was a movie our mother pushed?
Yeah, like our mother loves that movie,
and I've actually never seen it.
So you need to watch
So
it.
maybe we do a first watch of My Cousin Vinny at some point, because our mother loved it.
It does seem really funny.
Our mother loved it, and it's kind of
a young Marissa Tomei.
It's like an 80s classic, isn't it? Kind of a cult classic.
Yeah.
I think, kind of like this movie is in its own way. Except this movie is blown up so huge beyond that. It's a cult classic just because of its box office and what happened.
It's just a classic period.
But it's just a classic. And of course, Buttercup was going to herself, and I censor myself because I wonder if they would appreciate
I actually wondered that when I watched it. I'm like, I don't know if we'll be able to say that. I actually had that thought. But
you guys got the point.
Yeah, you got the point. What's funny is like when she kisses her to-be father-in-law goodbye, or I guess it's her father-in-law at that point. And he's like, what was that for? You know, like he loves that because he must love her evidently. So he loved that he got this kiss on the cheek, and she's like, oh, because I'm going to go myself after the right after when we meet in the thing or whatever. And he's like, that's nice, dear.
That's nice, dear. He's clearly not listening.
No, he's just thinking about that kiss.
But then we get them reunited with Wesley, and he's like, there's such a, like, what does he say? There's so few perfect breasts in the world. I'd hate for them to ruin this pair. And of course, then he's able to outsmart Humperdinck. And then we find that Andre the Giant has got them some white horses, and they are able to ride off. And it ends nicely because it ends with Montoya, with him kind of indicating maybe he would take over the Dread Pirate Roberts role and be able to make his fortune too, since he hasn't done that thus far. And then, of course, Wesley and Buttercup would live happily ever after.
And some romantic farm or something.
And it's so cute that like the grandfather ends the book and he's like, wait. And he's like, it's just more kissing. He's like, I don't mind so much. and it ends and he's like, out of all the kisses, this is one of the ones that's like the best kiss of all time.
The top
most
5
passion.
of all time. This exceeded them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everything's so like to the max. I love it.
And then, of course, it ends with the grandfather leaving, him saying, "Why don't you come read it to me tomorrow?" And it is a sweet little moment.
I don't know why it got me last night. It just did.
Yeah, it's a sweet little moment. It's awesome. But yeah, this movie, I mean, it's one of those that, like, no matter how many times you watch it, you kind of, something will jump out at you that's funny, that you can laugh at, that maybe you didn't even notice the first time. But it's just such a classic. And we're going to rate this. And I'm about to give this a special rating because you guys know that we do our hoot system. It's 5, 5 is the max. But back in the day, Natalie used to request 7. And I'd say, no, Natalie, there's no 7. There's only 5.
Is today the day?
But for The Princess Bride,
you guys, this is big.
The Princess Bride, out of 5 hoots, gets 7 hoots. That's how many hoots it gets. Because I'm
gonna have to agree.
It's because
no, I give it 8.
Because just like the kiss, I was just making 7. Whatever the max hoots is, that's what it gets. Okay,
I give it 100 hoots.
It's 100 hoots. It's max hoots here.
This is clearly a serious review channel.
It's serious hoots, Josh. I mean, 7 hoots. I mean, it's 8 hoots. I mean, everyone, you guys understand.
Give it the amount of hoots you feel inside.
Yeah, we want to see how many hoots. As you wish. We want to see how many hoots you guys give it. I mean, you guys are going above 5 for hoots for this too. I mean, it's max hoots all the way. I mean, that's all you can do for this movie. Because this truly is, and you will not hear me say this often. You will hear me enjoy or say, oh, well, that was fun a lot. But you will not hear me say a movie was perfect much. But this is literally
serious.
This is literally a perfect movie. There is not one scene you would remove.
No.
There's not one thing that if you had creative control, you would go back and change or mess with or alter even a little bit. This movie is that perfect. Like the comedy to this day, it's timeless. Like this is truly, if you enjoy quirky humor, you're going to love this movie the rest of your life. I mean, it has a cozy feel to it because
does.
of just everything about it.
Well, and I think when you like something, you've watched it a lot of times, it does have kind of like a familiar feel, which is comforting.
Yes.
You know, I mean, movies and shows can do that sometimes, have that effect.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the type movie that's why it fits so well that he's reading to his sick son. Sick grandson. This is the type of movie that you like want to watch when you're not feeling good. Like it's that type of movie because it's got everything you need in it. And the acting, the cast, I mean, everyone does their job. Everyone does their comedic timing perfect, whether it's like a guard, not even the six-fingered man, like that redheaded guard.
Yeah.
Like everyone plays their role perfect, no matter how long they're in it.
Right. It's true.
I mean, the movie's just, it's perfect. It's inconceivable that it's perfect. But yet it's perfect. Like that's how it is. I mean, it's just...
It is, and I just remember thinking, like, as a child, like, oh, Princess Buttercup is so beautiful, and he's so dreamy and handsome. So it is like they picked like a great cast.
They did. I mean, the cast is awesome,
and of course, I love
Robin. Or who?
Robin, who?
Right?
Oh well, I was gonna say I love her in I mean, kind of a sad role, but the Forrest Gump's one of my all-time favorite movies. So of course she's Jenny in that beloved movie.
And she has aged like a fine wine.
She has.
She really has.
Definitely has.
She was looking really good in Wonder Woman 1984.
Still fierce.
She is. Thank you, Stephen, for the $4.99 super chat.
Very much.
My room was identical to Fred Savage room with all the same stuff in it. It was my go-to sick day movie. That and Ferris Bueller. Ferris Bueller's a great one too.
Do you know? I actually because I'm a woman and I like home stuff and history and how things used to look. I was actually kind of looking at his room like while I was watching it, and I was thinking like, what a fun boy like 80s room. Like that would be an awesome just like the thing set up behind him with the stuff on it and all that. Like so that was a cool room to grow up in.
Yeah, it was a totally cool room to grow up in. And that's another, even little Fred Savage did a fantastic job.
He did, yeah.
Because kids
of like being a typical boy, but then it's like this story kind of like opened up his, like it made him a little more open-minded. Because kids can be risky business with kids and movies. There's some not too good kid actors sometimes, but Fred Savage was a good kid actor. He was a professional.
He was. He did an excellent job in it. And yeah, his room is so cool. And even that baseball video game he's playing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of playing like Nintendo back in the day, and then Super Nintendo, and then Sega, and then Nintendo 64, and then PlayStation. It just kept going. But you guys get what I'm saying.
you picking up what we're putting down.
Yeah, right? You do. I mean, inconceivable, subhuman. I see you. I mean, guys, there's just not enough that we can say about this movie. And I know a few years ago it celebrated its 30th anniversary. No, it's like it did, didn't it?
When I celebrated my 30th anniversary of life.
But it's a classic 1987 movie, 1980s movie. So, guys, there's just not anything else that can be said. Robin Wright playing a role. Billy Crystal, I hear it. I see you saying Billy Crystal cracking you up. Yeah, I mean, Billy Crystal does a great job in his little role.
I can't tell who said he was surprised Carrie. How do you say his last name? Ooze or probably not Ooze, but
where is it?
I think it was up there a little bit. I kind of lost it. But the person was saying, Josiah.
How do you pronounce his last name? Els? You guys know who we're talking about.
Yeah,
Wesley.
Wesley. Surprised he didn't have a bigger career. And I could see that. Yeah. Because like you kind of think he would go on to. I know he did Men in Tights that people love.
Yeah, Men in Tights.
And then of course he was in Stranger Things, our beloved
recently.
Stranger Things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean he did little stuff, but he definitely didn't have
he didn't really catch on.
Like he didn't have near as big of a career as like he probably should have.
Yeah,
really.
Like overall, I think Robin Wright Penn, or I think it's just Robin Wright now, like since they divorced, but
she did the most. And then you've got the dude who inconceivable. I always just think of him at Clueless because he's the nerdy teacher.
Another one of my favorites.
He's the nerdy teacher that Cher helps get a girlfriend.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Let's see. He was in that tornado movie Twister. I remember Twister, but I literally haven't watched it since I was a kid. But I remember it was kind of a big deal at the time. Am I imagining that?
Josh Anderson says he was in a couple
of the
Saw films. Okay, I've not seen any of those.
I tried to watch one Saw film, and I wasn't ready. Wrong state of mind.
I don't know if I can ever watch Saw films, guys.
I was like, too much.
Oh, and
too
I
much.
love Psych, and he showed up in Psych, and because they had made reference to how handsome he was throughout the series, so he actually appeared as like a villain in it. Like it was, I think he was a villain. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, it was pretty funny when he showed up in Psych too. So yeah, and I guess that actually he was also in Haunted Mansion. So okay, guys, he's had a better career than we thought.
Had a pretty good career,
which is good. I think what he is saying too is he did it to be in such an iconic role. This is like his only iconic role. He never got something that's like
kind of big leading man part.
Yes, yeah. Where Robin Wright would go on to be in Forrest Gump, another one of the most beloved movies.
I was not ready. I was not mentally prepared that night when I was young.
Yeah, it's
a little too much.
I'm not a huge horror person, guys. I like comedies. It's what I like the most.
Yes.
It's kind of my thing. But Natalie, kind of closing thoughts. Anything else you want to say about this movie?
Well, I saw a couple comments about
where you want me to find them.
No, you don't have to find them. Just there's like, I guess there's been talks of a remake of this. Did you know that?
Yes, please.
And I think everybody kind of can agree that we're kind of against that. We're not feeling
I would not say such things if I were you.
Inconceivable.
That's kind of what we said. That's a no. That's a hard
pass.
That is Michael Scott's gif of no. Like that's what that is.
It's a don't mess with perfection type of deal.
No, because it can only be worse. Like, it can't be better.
Like, could you make a similar movie that could be cool? Like, probably.
No.
I don't know.
Hollywood's not creative anymore. Can't do it.
I don't think it can.
No.
It'd be let down any way you go about it.
No. I want to give this little shout out again. Check out Talking Back Pod. But they brought up, I thought this was really cute for those of you in the chat who may not know. So I believe they said it was the director, maybe it was the writer. I need to go back and listen to that again. But anyways, the reason how this got its name of The Princess Bride is the dude goes in to ask his daughters what movie, so it had to be the writer. What movie?
That's such a classic little girl. I already can tell where this is going.
He goes into his where his two daughters are going to sleep, and he says, "Girls, what should Daddy? What movie what should Daddy write about next?" And one of them says, "A princess," and the other one says, "A bride," and he says, "Okay."
And it's so cute because often as a little girl, maybe not Michelle, she was not quite as girly as I was, but it is like when you're in your young mind, it's like, you know how boys are like trucks and stuff. It's like for little girls, it's like
princess,
wedding, bride, princess. Like those are the things that make you happy.
But yeah, shout out again to Talking Back Pod because I heard them say that. I never heard that. I thought that was really cute that this movie that's so timeless that's kind of like how it got its origins.
Yes.
Just that.
The Princess Bride.
Yeah, The Princess Bride. Yes, and Robin was in House of Cards. I've actually never watched House of Cards.
I watched it. It gets a little dark. What do you guys think? Did I finish it? Yes, because I'm guilty of that, even when I think something's too dark.
And they say, I agree, this movie can't be remade. They can try, but it'll just be a sad, miserable failure. That's all it can be.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally all it can be. There's no going up from this movie. It's just how far down can you go?
Right.
That's just a hard pass. That's like them saying, that's like if Disney said, we're going to remake The Empire Strikes Back. Like, no, you're not.
No.
Like everyone would be up in arms. No.
Don't do it, girl.
Don't. Like you can't perfect it, is what I'm saying. It's already perfect. So what are you going to do with it? And thank you again, Hey There Hey, for the $5.
Literally no one of all time. Hollywood, you know what would be great? A Princess Bride remake.
Exactly.
That is very true.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it's like.
Said no one ever. But yet someone in Hollywood probably did because they seem to be a little bankrupt in ideas right now.
Kind of falls under the who asked for this.
Exactly. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah, have you guys seen Ghostbusters 2016? I feel like everything goes back to that. Willow. Do you know Willow Willow was actually recommended to me after I watched this, and I need to watch Willow. People have been. I know
What is Willow?
I know George Lucas was behind it. I believe he is. Guys, was George Lucas the director or writer? It's a Lucas film. Like he worked on it. But it's kind of the same time period.
Okay.
But I know people who like Star Wars have all watched Willow because George Lucas.
So it's a sci-fi.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a timepiece.
Totally misread that.
And guys, is it a comedy or like what?
And is it a show or a movie?
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie. Okay, produced by
Ron Howard. Let's see. Willow is good. You guys are not the first to recommend Willow, so I'm really gonna have to. Maybe I'll watch Willow tonight. I'm in one of these phases, guys. Those of you
movie phases.
Those of you watching or listening, I just finished The Crown, so now I'm in that. We all go in these cycles, right?
And then you're like super sad.
Yes.
And you end a good show, so then you're like, well, I'll just watch some random movies that pop up.
That is what happens.
I
Literally, I will watch a show. I'm grieved that the show's over, and I'm showless. And during the showless time is when I just begin to watch movie after movie after movie. And then all of a sudden, a show one night catches my eye, and I'm like, well, I'll give this a try. And then the cycle repeats itself.
I mean, I even got so desperate one time. I went on a Lifetime movie kick. Things are bad when you're on a Lifetime movie
She
kick.
was in the pit of despair.
That's called the pit of despair.
And she was watching those movies. George Lucas was the creative person behind it, like Indiana Jones, I believe. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch this. Josh says good humor through. Let's see. Willow is epic. In fact, shout out to Fan Zone Vids. Definitely go subscribe to his channel also. Yeah, I need to watch Willow. Maybe I'll watch Willow tonight. Guys, I think I'll watch Willow tonight, and I'll let you know what I think. But if we watch Willow, it needs to be a first watch eventually.
It does. Val Kilmer at his best was Val
Kilmer's. You got me. Sold. I'm right there.
I'm a big fan of young Val
All
Kilmer.
you guys had to do was say Val Kilmer, and it was game over. Sold. Bought, sold.
Like him as Jim Morrison in the Doors movie.
I mean, yeah. I'm gonna watch that tonight. So I'll give Willow a watch. But anyways, guys, I think that's kind of it for this discussion on movies that we love.
And My Cousin Vinny I'll have her watch that
yes,
one too.
okay.
And I haven't seen it forever, so I'd love to rewatch it.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Why did this just make me laugh? I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat there. But yeah, so that's kind of it for this movies that we love. The Princess Bride, a 1987 classic, perfect movie, cult classic, beloved, incredible comedy. It's got it all. Oh,
nice.
Sweet. Nicole says My Cousin Vinny's on Amazon Prime.
Yay.
So maybe I'll decide which one I want to watch. If I want to watch Willow or My Cousin Vinny tonight. We'll see. We'll see what I watch. I may let you guys know on Twitter.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, we'll see. But Natalie, where can they find you? We don't say this enough anymore.
We don't. I am Natalie R. Grace on Twitter and NatLovesBella07 on Instagram.
Yes, and you can find me.
Feel free to follow me either place.
Yes, you can find me. I run the Forcify Entertainment account on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm Michelle34Smith on Instagram. And definitely keep coming and watching our videos. I was like, I set that up and it was like, what am I gonna say there? not the best way to end that, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone in the
MySpace. I never had a MySpace.
I didn't have a MySpace either. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys, your feedback always makes it so much fun to actually, that's what guys, and we appreciate everyone who listens on podcasts.
Yes.
Some people are just more podcast people. We get that.
Pod people.
You're pod people, man. We get it. But we always have fun discussing things with you guys in the chat. It's always fun to hang out with you all. Thank you, Nicole, to hang out with all you lovely people. But we've got movies to go watch, guys.
We do.
So that's it for us. So
much to do, so little time.
Yeah. So as always, guys and girls, remember to be a force of light. All right. And also check out our latest video on the new Gina Carano news.
Yeah, we had a video earlier today. Check it
out. Check that out. But
check it out.
Yeah, check it out. We'll catch you later, guys. Bye.